After doing the opening general session yesterday, I felt that there wasn't enough light or sound or music for the rest of the day. But this morning, I'd like to make this a quite informal session. I'm going to be presenting with Bharti Patel, who's the director of our mobile development teams. And I'm going to be joined on stage, Bharti and I are going to be joined on stage by Matt Flaherty and Jason Gary, who are two of the architects involved in defining our mobile products, establishing our mobile products, defining our mobile strategy. And I'm going to talk to you about strategy and the market and the things that are driving our mobile decisions. And Bharti then is going to come and talk to you about our delivery plans and the projects that we're working on. Then Bharti and I are going to be quiet, and Matt and Jason are going to come up and they're going to do some demos, both of our current products and products that we're planning on releasing, and then talk to you about some other app dev and compliance and assorted other issues around mobile computing. I want to make sure you read the disclaimer here. So, I'm going to talk about the mobile landscape and trends. I was thinking of reading it to you myself, but I can't read that quickly. We're going to talk about our mobile strategy. Bharti's going to talk about the overview of our solutions, and then Matt and Jason will show you some demos, talk about developing mobile applications, and talk about compliance. And then I hope we'll have some time for questions and answers. At the end, there are, I can barely see from here, but there are microphones, they tell me, in the aisles. So if you want to ask a question, if you come up to the microphone, and we'll try to take as many questions as we have time for. Okay. And we're trying to advance the slides. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Bottom line is the mobile landscape is changing. Both the way that people are using the devices, the way they're acquiring the devices, and the applications they're using on devices are changing. Most of us in the business world got our first smartphone in order to do email. And we're addicted to those for email, and they're a critical part of our lives. But we're finding that we need to be doing other things on those devices as well. We need to be doing instant messaging. We need to keep track of our social network. And we want to do things that are related to the business processes of our companies. I think all of you have lived through the circumstance where you send something to someone for approval, and you're waiting on it either to buy a plane ticket or to do something within your corporation, and the answer is, well, that person's traveling, I don't know when they're going to get to it. And you've also perhaps had the experience when the mobile device is working for them, it gets approved while they're standing in line at the airport, and things move along much more easily. And I guess this really isn't working. So, what are the things that have been changing in this space? One, most of you have lived in an environment where, especially in large enterprises, there might be one or two devices that are supported. What we're finding is the reality now is there's a much broader choice of devices on the market, different form factors, and companies are beginning to open the aperture of the number of devices that they're supporting, which quite frankly is putting demands on us as a software supplier to do more in that space. The devices have been communications-focused, phone and maybe email, and now really they're becoming broadly social devices. And we moved from phone, mail, calendar, contacts, chat, SMS, to doing things like having web meetings, doing VoIP and video on these devices. And so no longer do you have to say, I'm sorry I can't be in that web meeting, I'm going to be at the airport. You can join the meeting, get the audio from the meeting, participate in the meeting on audio, and also see the slides in the meeting on your mobile device, whether it's a small one or if it's a tablet type device, see a good representation of the information. All of that is changing the way we interact with our companies with devices. It used to be the company gave you the device. It's still true in many, many cases. What I understand from market studies, in about 50% of cases around the world. But in the other 50% of cases, people are bringing their own device to the company and wanting to connect it up to the company network. So that's providing more diversity, more personal choice. It also means that people are mixing their personal information and the company information on the devices. And for those of you who are administrators who worry about security in your companies, that's creating headaches about how to manage those pieces in the process. And we'll talk about that this morning. So the mobile landscape is changing, and the way we work with these devices is changing as well. You may work with a device that just has email support. You may have a VPN that gets you in to touch all the applications within your company. I was talking with a group of mobile suppliers this morning and an analyst at breakfast, and we were saying that very often as you start a mobile deployment, the company's not sure exactly what to do about the VPN strategies. So we'll talk to you about mobile-specific VPN strategies. We're going to talk to you about calendaring. We're going to talk to you about email. But we also want to recognize that there are other things that you have to do. You have to work on a project. You have to update meeting minutes. You have to be able to locate a project event. You have to be able to have private chats with an expert and find an expert from your mobile device, because I think all of us have had the situation where a business crisis or opportunity comes up when we're sitting at home, we're traveling somewhere, we're out at a sporting event, and we want to be able to respond to those things in real time. So we're going to be talking to you about how to bring the whole social experience of Lotus Connections onto your mobile device. And we're going to be talking about activity streams, which you saw yesterday in the opening general session on the main screen, and how that's implemented, what the development model is for using activity streams on mobile devices, and how that relates to what you'll do back on a PC-based device as well. I talked to you already about attending a web conference. No longer an excuse not to be involved because you're not sitting at your desk. And then being able to go back and repeat that cycle in different circumstances. So very different use models. The other thing that's changed for us, I think, and this is, I think, being very frank about where we've been and where we are and where we feel like we're going, is that our position in the market around mobile support has changed fundamentally in the last couple of years. In complement to our development teams, we build a product around Lotus Notes Traveler, which IDC reported in September was the fastest growing mobile gateway in the market. Now, there are more ActiveSync connections, there are more RIM connections than there are Traveler connections today, by a pretty decent margin. But what we're finding is that many of you are very actively growing that Traveler base. You're having a lot of success in easily setting up the Traveler base. You're getting customer satisfaction from people who are bringing their devices in, using them with Traveler. And so we're fairly happy that we've executed on the promises that we've made around Traveler. And so we've set for ourselves a new set of goals for our mobile strategy. And I want to articulate these things. I think we said them all yesterday on the main stage, but I think they bear repeating in a kind of very targeted way. One, our goal is to have a comprehensive solution. We want to handle all the key social business applications that you need on the device, not just email, not providing instant messaging on one platform and not a really good instant messaging experience on another platform. We want to have a comprehensive solution. And hopefully, after Barty talks to you about our development plans and you see the demos today, you'll come away convinced that we're very serious about moving along in that strategy. Secondly, we want to make those things available on all the leading platforms in the marketplace. And I think you heard about all the platforms yesterday. They're the Apple platforms of iPhone and iPad. There's the Android platform. There's the Nokia platform. And there's the RIM platform. And so we want to be consistent in our support so that people can choose those platforms based on the characteristics of the devices and the networks that they run on and the carriers that provide them, and be confident that they have the social business tools to work with whichever of those platforms they choose. Third, we want to make it much clearer than we have in the past what our application development strategy is for mobile devices. Because for many years people have talked about business applications on the devices, but the fact of the matter is most of you on our base haven't built that many business applications on the devices. It's much easier to build the applications now. We think it's much cheaper to build the applications now. And with the way the devices are being used, there's much greater demand for building those applications now. So we're expecting the demand for those applications to skyrocket, and I hope you'll come away feeling that we're putting together the tools in place to make that happen. And finally, these devices are growing so fast within corporations that governance is a serious issue that could block deployments and block customer satisfaction if we don't do that well. And just to give you a sense of the scale, I used to go and ask customers, what percentage of the employees in your company will you provide supported mobile devices for? And the answers that I would get would typically range from 5 or 10% of the population, maybe up to a high in some smaller companies or some particular industries of 15%. And there were outliers. There were consulting companies or legal firms where the answer would be 100%. In the last 3 months, I've talked to a number of large manufacturing firms whose answer used to be 7%, 8%, 10%, and their answer was 100% over the next 2 years. If that's true, there's going to be phenomenal demand for these mobile solutions and phenomenal need for those solutions to be comprehensive, provide a broad choice of platforms, provide an application development environment, and have a governance infrastructure. So, you always have to have one of these diagrams to explain what you're doing, but I want to talk you through the diagram to some degree because I think there's a lot of content here. We had a meeting in Massachusetts back in what I think was the October-November timeframe. I don't remember exactly. And we talked with a subset of customers about what they were expecting from us in mobile devices. And we talked about how easy it was increasingly to build web applications for mobile devices, because the browsers were getting good on those devices, they were getting consistent on those devices, and we could have a consistent device strategy. What we heard loud and clear was, that's great, but there's a set of applications on those devices that I want to have native support for. I want a native app to do those things. And so what you're going to hear today is a strategy from us of building native apps for certain social functions and using browser-based applications for other social functions, and pivoting smoothly between those two application models such that from an end user perspective, if they have a network, they don't really know whether they're working on a specifically developed installed app for that device or whether they're working in the browser in a more generic way on the device. And a big part of driving that transparency in that hybrid model, we think, is our social business toolkit. And the work that we're doing around activity streams and the work that we're doing around embedded experiences, we think those things will play out to allow a kind of merging of the user experience between installed apps specific to a device and the browser-based environment. Those new applications are going to put some new demands on the traveler infrastructure, and we'll talk a little bit from a governance perspective and so forth about how the traveler infrastructure, we plan to grow it over time to support this new wider range of applications. I talked about the platforms that we were supporting, and we expect that your mobile infrastructure is just as likely to be in the cloud over the next few years as it's likely to be in your on-premise environment. And so we're providing a symmetrical set of services in Lotus Live to match the functions that we provide in our on-premise product. So from an end user perspective, it's transparent whether those services are coming from the cloud or those services are coming from an on-premise system. So in summary, what we're really looking for is a comprehensive mobile solution for a wide range of applications so that the PIM functions, the email functions that you were used to are available on these devices, but also that voice, video, other functions are there as well, that you can optimize the devices for things like document editing, because with good browser support, there's no reason that Lotus Live Symphony cannot also be working on these types of devices, especially as we get into the tablet form factor where that type of editing is possible. And so we think we're beyond the area of simply doing a good job of mobile email and PIM capabilities. We're into pushing the boundaries of what you can do on a PC device and what you can do on what we've traditionally thought of as a mobile device. And so I'm going to now invite Bharti Patel up to stage, and Bharti's going to talk to you in a little more detail about what we have planned for this year, what we have planned into the future on these devices. Bharti?
Thank you, Kevin. So you heard Kevin loud and clear talking about the mobile strategy. Now I'm going to talk about how we are going to execute the strategy he talked about and what are various components of our delivery. So first and foremost, the first component here is our mail component, Lotus Traveler for Mail. And I want to start my conversation with you, first of all, thanking you for the tremendous feedback you have given it to us on Traveler. Thank you very much. Now, as you know, as of today, Traveler Mail is available on all the four platforms. You have it available on iPhone, iOS, Android, and on Nokia S60 devices. And it's also available, Domino Mail is also available on RIM through the BES server. In 2011, we have a lot more coming out. First, we'll be enhancing the Traveler Mail for Symbian 3 devices. We just released our Traveler on Android in December, and we will be enhancing what we provided in terms of calendar support. So you'll have full calendar invite support. You can create, delete, edit. You'll also have support for encrypted mail. You'll have widgets. It would be possible to put widgets on your home screen, be it calendar, be it mail. Also, Traveler is just not popular in few countries, but it's becoming more and more popular across the world. And we have heavy demand for supporting additional languages, and we'll have support for Group 2 and Group 3 languages on Android also. Again, based on popular demand, we'll have corporate lookup for groups. Also, for you to extend out your rollouts to bigger numbers, very soon we'll have high availability and failover support coming out in 2011. We'll also have, from security point of view, many of you have been asking us to have a partial wipe on iPhone, and we will be doing it again in 2011. Another feature very, very heavily requested is month V on Android, and we'll be doing that as well. With that, I will be moving out to same time now. So as you know, same time is our instant messaging tool, collaboration tool, where it's possible to collaborate anytime, anywhere. As of today, it's available on Nokia devices, on RIM, and we have a web version on iPhone. However, again, here popular demand, we will be coming out with very soon, and the beta is already in place, and if you want to try out, you can be part of that. We'll have Android native version of same time. And here, the thing I want to highlight is that it will have all the basic functionality like chat history, business card, multiple chats, but it will also have some advanced features like it would be possible to take a picture, send it across. It would be possible to see the geolocation of the person wherever he is. And another feature that probably would interest you would be you would be able to do the voice to text and text to voice. We will also be having native iPhone client for same time coming out in 2011. And it will have all the features I just talked about on Android, and will also have basic SUT. Now, this is what we are thinking of doing and delivering in 2011. One of the feedback I got while talking to the analysts, that they would also like to see how we have more focus on video. So that's something we are working on, and video will be what you will be seeing in our future releases. With that, I move on to another component of same time meetings. Now, meetings make you collaborate anywhere, and one of the things here we are doing is we are coming out with the RIM BlackBerry application in 2011, and we'll have browser-based meeting support for Android and iOS coming out in 2011. Now, let's move on to, you heard a lot about social. So let's see what we'll be doing in social. We have been delivering actually connections on all of the mobile devices. So connections 2.5, 3.0, all of them are available actually on iOS, Android, Nokia, and RIM as of today. And almost all the services are available. You can see the blogs, you can see the profile of the person, you can see files, load files, and profiles. But we'll just not be. I'm sorry about that. It's not my computer, by the way. Here, what we'll be doing, all this is browser-based. And we will be coming out in 2011 with Activities Stream application. And that would be available on all the 4 platforms. It would be possible to see your activities stream on your home screen. And then it would also be possible to take actions from there. So we will just not let you see what's going on, but it would be possible for you to take actions from there. And that's the kind of roadmap for 2011. With that, I would like to hand over to Matt, who will be showing you some of the stuff.
Mike. Morning, everybody. So I think I'm going to show you some live code, and I'm also going to turn off the wireless on this guy. So what I'm going to show you today is let's make sure, can we switch to the projector? You got technical difficulties here? I want to switch to the projector here. Guys in the back. All right. So this is very brave. I'm going to see how well you guys can see this. I somewhat selfishly chose to show you our Android support on one of the Samsung Galaxy devices because the screen size is a little bit bigger. Might be a little bit hard to see, but I'm going to take you through some of the stuff that Barty just talked about that we have in market now and some of the things that are coming out very soon now. So as you can see, I've got an Android workspace set up. I've got the suite of apps that we have right now, laid out for you. And basically, I'll take you through them and what we've got now. For those who haven't seen Traveler, I'll start with, our mail experience, which is, full inbox support, drafts, everything you would expect from a mail client, native to the Android device. From inside of here, some of the key things that we're going to show in the short time here is that, from this infrastructure, you can get into, a user who has sent me a mail. We use this renovations company, so these are obviously fake users. But Natalie has sent an email to me, and I'd like to, either reply to her or, whatever is appropriate from her name. You'll notice we've got different actions for different applications where we can plug in different parts of our solution into. I'm going to quickly respond back with an OK, next, and send that guy off. I've responded and taken care of that directly from the mail experience and can pivot to our other applications, such as Same Time, Calendar, and Contacts. If I take you to Same Time, which hopefully, if I'm lucky, the wireless will play nice with me here, we've got full Same Time support natively to the Android operating system and across other platforms as well. And I can do everything I need to inside of Same Time. Ted's my boss. I'm going to say good morning to him. And maybe my network is not as participating as it would like to be. There it goes. So that sends off to Ted. And inside of Same Time, we've got Same Time messaging list. We've got our list of active chats. We've got the status support that you would expect to be able to go from online to unavailable and so on and so forth. So that's just a quick tear through on Same Time. We're showing that elsewhere, and I recommend you attend and take a look at some of the other things that we're doing in mobile. The other key thing to show in this kind of deep integration of the operating system is that we've got widgets that you can use on the desktop, which is a kind of common pattern on this type of device. And as an example, what I'll do is add my traveler mail as a 4x1 grid. So I've got the capability to get mail updates without drilling into my mail application, which is a kind of nice feature. Similarly, we've got the same kind of support for same time, and we'll do so everywhere that it makes sense. So here's your same time. I frequently talk to Ted because he's my boss, and Kristen works for me, so I'd like to make sure that I can get to them anytime. I've now got same time up as a widget on the desktop, and I can go straight to Kristen and start interacting with her on same time. So that's where we're at on the suite of applications. To keep it all moving, I am going to, that did not work. All right, so that's off again. So I think actually this is everything I'll be showing for this part of the demo. This is the applications that are in market now. So you've got Traveler for mail, calendar, and contacts. Same Time is on its way, and this is some of the stuff that you'll see in Same Time and expect in Same Time for Android. Jason is going to take you through some of our more forward-looking things in a moment, including some of the stuff around the new social business framework and toolkit. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I should have had a trench coat. I could pull out like 4 or 5 of these. Go ahead and I'll advance the slide over here. So my name's Jason Roy Gary. Yes, I have 3 first names. Could have been worse. My mother could have named me Billy Joe Bob, but instead, I'm Jason Roy Gary. I'm the lead architect of IBM Project Vulkan, and Barty and Kevin were fortunate and nice enough to invite me to come and talk to you a little bit about where Project Vulkan comes in delivering some of the vision that we have been working on over the last year and driving into the IBM Social Business Toolkit. One of the things that Kevin alluded to was we want to lower the cost of mobilizing applications. We believe there is a huge future in creating solutions around mobile devices, bringing embedded experiences and some of the concepts that you saw back on Monday into the overall solution that you have on the mobile device. Now, as many of you probably know, if you go to a gas station, or for those of you from the other side of the pond, a petrol station, and you put the petrol into your car, more than likely, when you turn over the ignition, the car is going to start. Why? Because there are standards that the manufacturers of not only the fuel, but the automobiles that you are driving adhere to. Well, the same is hold true for new capabilities that are coming to mobile devices. And you see some of the logos on the screen, and I'm going to call out a few of them. Open Social, Atom, SAML, OAuth, CMIS, obviously the huge strides that HTML5 has made in the last 3 years. Shameless plug, I am a board member on the Open Social Foundation, and there's a great deal of work going on in mobile with Open Social. So you may wonder, that's great, I love all these standards, what does this mean for me? Especially when it comes to mobile strategy. Well, what it means is that as these standards come together and coalesce, not just on the desktop, we can bring the value of all of these different standards to a mobile device as well. All the devices that we've talked about here today, whether they're Nokia, RIM-based devices, iOS-based devices, Android-based devices, all have one key common thing: a WebKit browser layer inside the device. So what I'm going to walk you through over the next couple slides in a very quick demonstration is a bit of vision that we've had over the last year, and being able to take these standards, create artifacts, these macro components, and drive the concept of embedded experiences to mobile devices. So let me go ahead and I'll flip through the slides. Now, if you're going to use these open standards, you need tools. One of the very powerful tools that we have within the portfolio is Xpages. And we've done a great deal of work around Xpages in being able to create these individual components that can then surface themselves on a variety of devices using that WebKit browser layer. We actually have some examples up on OpenNTF that you can actually go and download and leverage and utilize to be able to do some things that are very powerful and look very native-like. For example, here's some examples of them here. Well, what's very interesting about that is all of those individual controls can be bundled together into individual applications, these macro components, gadgets, widgets, depending on whatever language you want to call them. They can be bundled together to create these embedded experiences, these capabilities that allow you to integrate into IBM services and external services a variety of different solutions and capabilities. But lest I continue to talk to you about it, let me show you a little bit about what I'm trying to explain. Here we can see the same gadget in a variety of different locations surfacing itself. And I'm not kidding. Every single one of those that you see there is the exact same open social gadget surfaced on a RIM device, on an iPad, on an iPhone, inside the Notes Install client, inside a desktop browser. Same gadget, same work and effort to create it, and yet, when it renders on each one of these individual devices, it adapts itself. Well, how does it do that? What we've been working with is the creation of a very intelligent open social container that can adapt itself based on what platform it's running on and surface the particular artifact or gadget appropriately. So here you can see, obviously, on different devices it displays differently. So let's go ahead and flip over, and let me show you a little bit more about what I'm talking about. You saw a little bit of this yesterday from Brian. I believe he did some comment like TV Timeout and said, this is the Notes Next client, and then jumped up and down. What I'm trying to show you here is that not only is this the Notes Next client, but this is the same gadget that you just saw on the previous screen. This is an ability to go through and do file preview directly. Instead of having an attachment emailed to you and you having to double click on it, open the attachment in another sovereign container, here I can interact directly with it. Well, it's very powerful if we can do that with a variety of different devices. So, for example, doing that on an iPad. So let me go ahead and zoom out here. I think I'm being just as brave as I possibly can. I think that's as far as it zooms out. But here you can see the exact same gadget rendering. And I'll go ahead and get a full preview here so you can see it. The exact same gadget, the exact same code, the exact same JavaScript, and yet I have it displayed here on my iPad, and I can interact with it directly. So let me go ahead and I'll browse right through it. I can even do things like, and let's see if the network's going to work with me. Here you can see an example of an activity stream directly on the iPad, and I can actually do very native-like things with it. I can browse through it. I can even go ahead and let me get the accelerometer working here. And I can even flip it around. But not only can I do that there, but this is actually my RIM BlackBerry Torch. But that exact same gadget, let me zoom in here so you can see it. That exact same gadget is right there on my RIM OS 6 based device, my Torch. I can go through and do the exact same experience. I can preview a file. I can interact directly with my activity stream directly here. And again, it adapts itself depending upon the device. So here you can see I've flipped from the RIM device and I've gone to an iPhone. Same gadget, same programming model, same work put in to be able to create it, and yet now it's working in a variety of locations. But there's all sorts of power with this, and let's see if this actually launches for me. With embedded experiences inside an activity stream, zoom out. There we go. With embedded experience inside an activity stream, I can embed information like, for example, a Cognos report directly inside my mobile experience. And I can mix that with social content. So here's, as I said, an example of Cognos. I can flip it around, I can interact with it, and as I go through and make different selections, I can actually interact live with this report. This is actually a Cognos report coming up from an activity stream. Everything that you're seeing here, although I believe a prototype, is all real. So again, here's my activity stream. and I can directly go in and interact with it. So this is what I really wanted to show you today, was the power and the capability of bringing these open technologies. Here you've seen examples of the utilization of OAuth for authorization. Here you've seen an example obvious of open social gadgets, HTML5, the leveraging and utilization of Dojo and a variety of different JavaScript libraries. And you've seen the ability to bring multiple gadgets from different places, even ones that weren't necessarily written by IBM, to provide an embedded experience directly out of an activity stream. Just like you can see it inside the Notes client on my screen. And I'll go ahead and flip over. And just as you can see it inside the desktop browser. Same artifacts, same activity stream, same gadgets. And that's what we're going to be working on, is bringing the power over time of this embedded experience concept to all of these different areas, all of these different platforms, using a common programming model. So Matt, I think you were going to talk a little bit more about some of those other very important open standards, OAuth and SAML, with regard to governance and security of various mobile devices. Matt?
Thanks.
I'll take my...
Thanks, Jason. All right, thank you, Jason. I am going to take off on, so one of the things I do at Lotus, if this plays nice with me. All right, so I'm going to talk without slides because we don't have that much time left. We want to get to question and answer. So one of the things that's really important with mobilizing devices, obviously, is security, right? So the challenge is how to deal with this diverse set of devices that are being pushed by your users as they, buy them out at a store, are really excited about them. And one of the things that they immediately start working with is obviously email, right? So email is just baked into lots of the platforms. You can even see from, our Traveler work that on Apple, users use the actual Apple interface because they're so attracted to that type of device and that touch and feel. So what happens is that's pushing on the enterprise, and increasingly IT shops are having to deal with the fact that users want to access their business email, and with the changes that are able to occur when you give people access to that interface information when they're mobile, it has benefit to the enterprise as well. But what has to happen is strong management across all of these devices. And from RIM's perspective, they've always had a strong enterprise focus, and they've always cared very much about making sure your data is secure, that everything is lined up and taken care of from an enterprise perspective. There's a range across the solutions that are made and the devices that people choose. And what is going to happen over time is this consumer push is going to go towards the enterprise, and gaps are going to be filled, and devices will be managed. But the challenge for you is cost, right? So we want to make sure that as you have an email solution and onward into more of the social business and a broader collaboration strategy, that you're able to work with the existing, products that you've deployed. So Domino and Traveler is immediately manageable from Domino at no cost. You stand it up, you work with your Domino infrastructure, and can take care of a lot of the challenges that you have on devices. So administrative device wipe, making sure that things are encrypted, setting password policies, locking out after timeouts, and so on and so forth. So in the Traveler infrastructure, that policy management is baked in a way so that you can use your existing infrastructure to manage these additional devices as you bring them on board. And our strategy going forward is as we look at other devices and as this ecosystem evolves and more of the applications become adopted, making sure that you have the tools from Lotus and from IBM to manage these devices is extremely important to us, and that's a key part of our strategy. Similarly, there's also cases for users that the high function is really important. You've got users that across a range from folks that are highly mobile to not highly mobile, that Kevin alluded to. Segmenting the user population and deciding to have a risk strategy based on the particular user segments is also something that folks are keen to do, and we support those kinds of modes as well with installable apps that are managed and wipeable, and all the Traveler capabilities capabilities that I talked about. And similarly, for a lighter touch access, we have ultralight versions of our key applications that are web delivered, that don't leave a footprint on the device, and you don't require you to worry about the encryption and wipe and so on and so forth. And a VPN and browser access is often good enough for certain segments of your population. So we're going to continue down a path of making sure that you can deploy in these modes that make sense for your user population, and over time, as we add more applications, making sure that we have the management capabilities in your existing investments to help you deal with the challenge here. So without slides, that's what I was going to take you through on security and management and administration challenges. So with that, I'm going to hand back to Kevin. He's going to do Q&A session here. I'm going to go back to a slide on business partner, if this will play nice with me. But we're interested in working with you guys as we work through this strategy, and Kevin will tell you more. Go ahead,
so we have about 10 minutes left for questions and answers. Before saying that, I want to put out an invitation to you. We've had, as Barty said, incredible support from the community as business partners, helping us design the products, refine the products, figuring out what next to do with the products. So we want to make it clear that we're very interested in continuing that and adding to that process. So for those of you who would like to engage with us in shaping the directions of the products, I'd urge you to join our Mobile Design Partner Program. And in addition to maybe asking questions here, follow up with us on a regular basis as we do our work in 2011. So, are there some questions? Oh, Mitch Cohen. Mitch.
Kevin, are we going to see some consistency in pushing all these apps into the respective app stores, as opposed to today where Traveler, you got to hit your server, Apple, it's in the App Store, Nokia, you just got in the App Store. Really, deployment on some of these devices would just be simplest if you put the stuff in the App Store, and then we can, you push that installer, and then we push the configuration as they touch our servers.
So, yeah, we are trying to drive to some degree of consistency. We got a pretty decent start on the Apple App Store, and we got through contractual things and whatever. We're up on the OV Store. Android's a little more segmented world, and so it's going to take us, I think, a little more time to figure out the Android situation. But yeah, I think that it's clearly something that we're trying to do. I'll tell you, quite frankly, our focus over the last several months has been to get this plan together to have a consistent set of apps across all the platforms, and yeah, now we got to work on that deployment issue. So,
thanks.
Other questions? I feel like I should ask you guys a question if you're not going to ask the question. All right, if there are no more questions, I want to thank you all for... Oh, a question. It's all people I know here.
Hey, Kevin. You might be aware that about 10 days ago, Appcelerator acquired Aptana. And Appcelerator has this great cross-platform compiler for the iOS and Android. And Aptana, of course, is a plugin for Eclipse, and it seems a real nice synergy. So I was wondering if you would, possibly comment on whether IBM would be interested in leveraging that instead of building out an entire toolkit yourself.
So we do keep looking at mobile middleware toolkits, and at this point, for the set of apps that we're doing, we don't see the need for that kind of toolkit, but sort of as it comes along, we may reach that point. Sort of, yes, we keep looking at them. No, we haven't committed to any.
Okay.
Other question? Oh, someone's running up the aisle. That's great.
Hi. Several people said, I hope the network's going to play nice with me during the presentation. I wondered if you could say a little bit more about offline access to some of this stuff.
Well, so one of the reasons that we're working on native apps for mail, of course, is to provide offline access for mail, and we're building the activity stream capability in order to have we're building an activity stream native app in order to have some access to offline. Offline real time is kind of a contradiction in terms. You can't have offline meetings and such. So on the places where we're building a native app and where it makes sense to have offline, we are thinking about offline.
Thank you.
Thanks. Someone else coming up? I guess we should have put the microphone maybe in the middle so you didn't have to walk all the way up.
But it's good exercise. So on the discussion around connections and native apps, there was some discussion around activity stream, but I don't want you guys to lose the sense of opportunity around profiles, because the mobile experience is in fact about instant availability and convenience. And one of the things we're hoping for is the ability to leverage the entire connections profile for the company to be able to dial people on the phone, for example, or to same time them. And this isn't always so quick if it's a web-based access. It might be much better if it's natively integrated into the capabilities of the phone. So if I want to same time somebody, or if I want to phone them, I want you to be able to have that as a native experience where possible. So I didn't hear enough of that kind of emphasis. And then, not to let my wish list go short, I really want to do a hands-free, voice-activated dial of those people in my connections universe. So today it's a short contact list that my voice dialer knows about. Tomorrow what I want is my potential list of many, many thousands of people that I should be able to voice activate, which I realize is likely to require that you do the voice recognition and search back on a server and then do a client-server reaction, because it's not likely you're going to do a text search of 50,000 names quickly on my device.
So two things there, and I deal with them slightly differently. Contacts, profiles, bringing that sort of unified definition of people together is, I think, one of the next challenges that we have to deal with. That we've been on a strategy to sort of use the contacts applications on the devices. And if you look at what we've done on Android, we've gone sort of a little bit beyond that. But now we really need, I think, to come to a strategy of unifying the contact model. And that involves knowing how to subset your profiles to bring them down onto the device and whatever. So it's not 100% a straightforward problem, but it is something that we are thinking about. So, I can't tell you that we actually have a solution or a plan in place, but it's certainly on our agenda to continue to think about that. I think in terms of the voice dialing, I think we're going to have to figure out with the device providers sort of what services they're going to provide, what services we're going to provide around those elements, because one of the things we've found is we've been reasonably successful in tapping into the native services on the device to do some of those things. Now, that has the problem that it may not be completely consistent across the platforms, but that market for devices is so competitive that if one of the major suppliers does it, the other one does it shortly thereafter. So that may be the answer there. But I think going back to the contacts and profiles things, we have some work to do across the board in having a strategy of figuring out how to subset things. Do we import things from the profile into the contact application on the device? Do we build our own? That's sort of the next level.
Yeah, and I think also the notion that there should be synergy between your applications. So if I need to be able to deal with my profiles from connections as contacts and then be able to same time them, and I have a native same time application, this sort of plea for the right synergy of applications and the balance between how much of this is native and how much of this is a web app, piece by piece, component by component. Don't lose sight of the fact that this is supposed to be a convenience device that's instant on and I can do something quickly with, which is why it's differentiated from a PC.
So I'd urge you to go chase the Traveler guys on that, because actually we've already done, I think, a pretty good job of pivoting between the installed same time app and profiles and a bunch of other things. There's probably plenty more we could do, But, you know, there's a place where we probably should have showed that on stage and we didn't. So, good. With that, I think we are out of time. I want to thank you all very much. And anybody else has questions, if you want to come up in the front, we'll try to address them. Thanks.